Hey everybody, welcome back to BobkeTV. It's Tuesday time once again for the Broom Wagon. All kinds of crazy news from the Dauphiné, Tour de Suisse, the wide world of cycling. Up next on the Broom Wagon. Alright everybody, first of all, the good, the bad, and the ugly from this week's racing. The good, Chris Froome. Froome dog zooming through the Dauphiné. No emphatic dismantlings of the peloton, but very consistent. Great teamwork from Team Sky. And Chris Froome has won for the third time in his career the Criterium du Dauphine. Great preparation on track for this year's Tour de France. You got to count Froome after a pretty commanding performance in the Dauphiné as the #1 favorite for this year's Tour de France. One hiccup. The uphill time trial that started the Dauphiné, he got pretty seriously demolished by Alberto Contador. It looked like Contador was going to run away with the Dauphiné, but that didn't happen. Froome was back on his best climbing legs throughout the rest of the Dauphiné. And absolutely, when you look at it, it wasn't any huge time gap over his competitors, namely Richie Porte, Dan Martin, and Alberto Contador. But when you added it up at the end of the week, Chris Froome, a pretty solid advantage and won handily the Dauphiné. So Chris Froome on track for perhaps his third victory in the Tour de France. Also the good from the Dauphiné, Richie Porte from the BMC squad. Big question mark coming into the Dauphiné after dropping out of the Tour of Romandy. Did not start stage #3 at Romandy. So Richie Porte, a little bit suspect on his form. What would he be racing like in the Dauphiné? And he was able to match Froome better than anybody in most of the strategic parts of the race. Richie Porte had a good opening hill climb time trial, the only man even remotely close to Alberto Contador, and Porte lost his position in the overall standings on the podium on the very last day with just 200 meters to go. Picked the wrong side of the road to start sprinting and lost the wheel of Romain Bardet and Dan Martin, and so Richie Porte at the very last moment lost his podium position. But he raced well throughout the week, and he should be on good form in the Tour de France. Also the good, oh my goodness, Peter Sagan, from good to great in the Tour of Switzerland. 2 stage wins in a row in the leader's jersey, and one of the most exciting stages the whole year, stage #3 in the Tour de Suisse. And Peter Sagan saw his teammates do a huge turn of work to keep the breakaway close. The last climb, deciding, I'll just leave the peloton behind on a sprint stage. If you guys missed that, I want you to go back and look for it. And a commanding performance by Peter Sagan. A great solo effort to get across to the breakaway. Michael Albacini, in a pretty clever move by the Orica squad, had already gone up the road. He caught up with Sylvain Dillier, who was going for the leader's jersey, but Sagan blew them away in the sprint, blew the field away. They chased flat out for 20 kilometers and couldn't catch a flying Peter Sagan. That was panache, a stroke of genius, an incredible ride by Peter Sagan after having already won the sprint the day before. So Peter Sagan, he's got great sprinting legs. He's as powerful as ever, and is going to be a real force to reckon with during the Tour de France. So Peter Sagan, hats off. You are the man. The ugly and the bad and the good for a couple of guys. Fabio Aru. Where was the guy on the overall standings? He lost time in the opening time trial, way more than he should. The hill climb time trial should be perfect for Aru. Got destroyed by Contador. Continued to lose time, then came up with a stage win. So a very schizophrenic performance by Fabio Aru. After his stage win, went straight back to the sprinters section in the climb and got dropped every day for the rest of the Dauphiné. So Fabio Aru is going to be a real question mark during the Tour de France because of his performance in the Dauphiné. He's there to lead the team. His teammate, Vincenzo Nibali, just won the Giro. And Fabio Aru did nothing to bolster the confidence of the team during the Dauphiné, except that one stage win, to have him be the sole leader of the team in the Tour de France for the Astana squad. So that's going to be a very interesting story moving forward into July. The ugly also and the good, Thibaut Pinot. Thibaut Pinot, also losing time in the uphill time trial, also losing time in the mountain stage, comes up with a great stage win in front of Romain Bardet. So I expected a lot more from Thibaut Pinot in the Dauphiné. The team will still work for him. They don't have any other options in the Tour de France in the mountains, but it'll be very interesting to see how he does. If his form is, as we suspect, capable of getting him onto the podium, which he's achieved before in his career. Third in the Tour de France back in 2014 when Nibali won, and his countryman, J.C. Perot, was second in the Tour de France. So if Thibaut Pinot is going to improve on that, he'll have to ride much more consistently at this summer's Tour de France. The bad, Alberto Contador in the Dauphiné, after a great opening time trial, continued to bleed a little bit of time each day in the mountains. He had some attacking stages, but he was not as sharp as I expected him to be, as he needs to be in the Tour de France if he's going to compete against Chris Froome, who was sharp as a razor blade. So AC, Alberto Contador, a little bit of work to do before the Tour de France starts. All right. Also, Alex Dowsett in the ugly category. Coming into a corner, we can take a quick look at it here. Oh, baby. How did both wheels get up off the ground before you crash? So Alex Dowsett just totally miscalculated this corner. He's one of the best time trialists in the business, former world hour record holder, and should know very well how his bike handles, his time trial bike handles. Hits a little bump, airborne, and then crashes so hard. So still in the Tour de Suisse, so Alex Dowsett, hopefully in the next time trial in the Tour de Suisse with 1 day to go, the penultimate stage of the bike race, keep the rubber side down. And if he can hang in all of the big mountain stages up to that second time trial in the Tour de Suisse, might have a good chance to win the stage there. But, oh man, oh, it's terrible when you see the guys crash. I hate seeing them crash. Stay on the road, fellas. Keep it going. All right. Next up, the Musette Musings. Oh, and by the way, I've got my on-the-road setup, different camera, different little tripod, and of course a different backdrop, traveling, covering the Tour of Switzerland. So bear with me. I'll have a more scenic backdrop when I get back to Durango. And I have the old 7-Eleven jersey and Paris-Roubaix poster. All right, Musette Musings. In the news this week, UCI and Mechanical Doping, the story that never gets old, Mechanical Doping. Revisiting this. Apparently, last summer at the Tour de France, one of the scientists that developed the motor, nicknamed the Hungarian, not Zsa Gabor, I much prefer that Hungarian, went to the teams and was trying to sell his motor to the professional bike teams. And the UCI was informed of this. They've kept that secret until yesterday, which doesn't give the ASO, the owners and operators of the Tour de France, any more confidence in the UCI. The UCI has told us they're all about transparency. They're all about truth, transparency, and in that way, we will understand more about the cultures of mechanical doping and physiological doping that have been a real stumbling block for the sport of cycling. But if they keep those secrets, if they keep that information secret, how does that translate to transparency? How exactly, I'd like to know, are they bolstering the confidence of the race promoters, like the ASO and the owners of the Giro d'Italia? How exactly are those organizations going to be confident that the UCI can present the sport to the fans in a way that the fans believe 100% that what they're seeing is an authentic spectacle? If ASO loses the confidence that the UCI can do that, whether it's about doping or mechanical cheating, that does not help ASO gain the confidence and keep the confidence in the UCI to police and monitor and present our sport. The ASO, after hearing about this, went on to say they would like an independent commission to make sure nobody is using a motor in their bicycle during the Tour de France. That is an exceptional step, that the governing body is not capable of governing the sport. And to be honest with you, I think they have a legitimate concern about whether or not the UCI is capable of ridding our sport of another scourge, not physiological doping, but having a motor in your bicycle. Hopefully the UCI can reaffirm their confidence, and the first step to that is transparency. So please, UCI, tell us what's going on. We're the people that love you. We are the people in the sport. You are our governing body. You are our union. So hopefully the UCI, in spite of a lot of hiccups, will get their act together eventually. Brian Cookson came in with the promise of change. And how many times have I had to say this? Whether it's motos crashing into the peloton, whether it's mechanical doping, whether it's regular old garden, run-of-the-mill peloton use of pharmaceutical substances that are on the ban list, the UCI has not lived up to the promise that Brian Cookson made so far this year. So I hope that eventually they will. All right. Also, the transfer season, or as I like to call it, the silly season, has begun in earnest already. And I'll tell you why. Generally, we're supposed to not hear any of this transfer rumors until the 1st of August. That is when the UCI has decided you can announce what team you're racing for the following season. But because the Tinkoff team is leaving the sport at the end of the year, all of those riders are free to go wherever they want, wherever they can find a job. And another part of it is that the Trek team is losing one of the big superstars of the sport, Fabian Cancellara, because of retirement. So Cancellara is retiring. Trek should presumably have a little bit extra budget for some star riders, and they have been busy in the rumor mill. Probably the biggest name associated with Trek for next year, Alberto Contador. Contador was supposed to be retiring at the end of the year. He's decided he's going to do another, maybe 2 more seasons, and they are in negotiations right now, and that would be a real coup for the Trek team to have Alberto Contador. There's 3 guys at the top of everybody's list, and 1 outlier for the ability to win a Grand Tour, and that is Chris Froome, Nairo Quintana, Alberto Contador, and Vincenzo Nibali. And it is Alberto Contador that's currently generating the big headlines for where he's going to race next year. And if he lands on Trek, that would be a huge, huge deal for the Trek squad. And also connected with that, if you're going to lose Fabian Cancellara, let's say you're one of the bike teams, who would you think you might want to get? Maybe the guy that won Milano-San Remo and Paris-Roubaix last year. Maybe a guy that's a little bit under the radar, but one of the preeminent up-and-coming superstars for the classics, John Degenkolb. So if Trek got Contador and Degenkolb for next year, that would be a great team made even that much better. So good luck with those negotiations at Trek. If they work out, it's going to be a very different peloton next year. Another big, juicy, gossipy rumor, Michael Matthews going to the Giant squad. So if you're Giant and you're about to lose John Degenkolb theoretically, let's see who we can get. And Michael Matthews is a great asset to any team. He can win sprints. He can win classics, especially a race like Amstel Gold. So Michael Matthews linked to the Giant squad. And if you're going to lose Degenkolb, you just lost Kittel last year, might as well get Michael Matthews. So believe me, the silly season is going to get more and more intense, so I can't wait to revisit that as the year goes on. Okay, tweet of the week is next. All right, everybody, for the tweet of the week, We got to go to Dan Martin, had a very good Dauphiné. This is what Dan Martin said. No French stage race feels right until you stay at a Campanile. Hotel Campanile. Now, where to open my suitcase. And let me, if you've never stayed in a Campanile, they're about the same size as the typical American bread box. So if you look at the bread box on your countertop in your kitchen, that's the size of a Hotel Campanile room. I'm not sure what they were designed for or what type of traveler they had in mind, but the two beds, and you have a roommate in cycling, you always have a roommate, it keeps the mischievousness to a minimum. The beds touch each other. And there is no more than 3 inches on either side of the bed. So you can move the beds out so you get a little bit of separation between the two beds. But there is enough room literally for your feet in between the end of the bed and where the window is. The door opens, barely misses the corner of the bed, and closes. And then you have this tiny little walkway on each side, and that leads to the bathroom. All right, everybody, that's it for the Broom Wagon for this edition. Tune in next week for another Broom Wagon with Bobke. I'm going to be on the road pretty regularly now for the whole month of July, but I'm going to do my best to bring you all the sights, sounds, and sensation from the beautiful world of bike racing. Until next time, everybody, thanks for your comments. Please keep those coming. Subscriptions, got to have them. Thumbs up, need those too. Please follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Tour de France is right around the corner. Nothing happened, but he bounced off a couple of riders and almost went down. So let's hope that Froome, for the rest of the Dauphiné, can stay out of danger. Could have seriously put a damper on his Dauphiné and his Tour de France later. You've got to stay off of the tarmac if you want to win the big races. So Froome, what are you doing up there, man? Be afraid.